This is our 2005 Ford GT. An American legend, born from the spirit of Le Mans, built to destroy Ferrari, and it did, again and again. The car has arrived back from Torrey Pines Collision with a fresh coat of paint and clear coat on our Doran GT wide body kit. We left most of the carbon fiber exposed, and that will make sense to you guys later on in this episode when we show you the livery. The car has never looked sharper, but this is only the beginning, because the real work starts now, the full rebuild. We've assembled tons of components from the best in the world. HRE wheels, Fortunato, Sparco, Willwood, CSF, Vibrant, and more. All coming together to re-engineer this GT into something the world has never seen. And it all leads to one stage, the 2025 SEMA Show, where together with the WD-40 brand, we will be revealing this legend to the world. This is history in the making, and it begins right now. And to celebrate our Ford GT project, we have launched an ultra limited edition t-shirt. I told you guys I was going to show you the livery, and here it is right here on the back of the t-shirt. You can see the carbon fiber detail in there, all the colors. This was created on a heavy duty modern blank. It's definitely one of my favorite t-shirts we've ever created, and as I mentioned, it is ultra limited. Head on over to the website now because it is live. Pick one up before they're gone. Now, let's get back out in the shop and get cranking on this GT. But before we start slamming this thing back together and getting it ready for the 25 SEMA Show, we've got a heap of parts here that I want to walk you guys through because there's some really special pieces in here and even some stuff that's now going to be available to GT owners after the SEMA Show. To start off, we have this massive Willwood brake kit. This was custom made for our project, but the really cool thing about this is Willwood wants to provide this GT brake package to any Ford GT owner out there. So they've developed it with us, massive 6-piston front and rear rotors. Look at this thing. It's bigger than my head. And what's really cool is that it utilizes a 2-piece floating rotor, and it also allows you to retain your stock brake booster, throw in some stainless steel lines, and you've got a car that's ready to hit the track and brake really well. So we're excited. This is the first time we've ever had our own logo on a caliper. That's right, these aren't stickers like we usually do and clear coat over them. This is screen printed on the caliper, throtl by Willwood. Also, they've made these in a custom yellow for us, which is gonna look amazing on the car. I'm so honored to have these and be the first ones in the world to put them on a Ford GT. And of course, we have a bunch of WD-40 brand products that were sent over. It's really important on this one because we have an aluminum chassis and steel bolts that are going in and out of it. We want to make sure that nothing galls, so we want to make sure we have the proper lubricants in place. Over here, we have a absolute boatload of brand new Ford products. If you guys have ever looked at Ford GTs, these parts are so hard to get. We were looking high and low, but thankfully we have a local Ford dealer here and a gentleman by the name of Ken who helped us find all of these parts to replace the crash parts on our Ford GT. For instance, here we have one of our old lower control arms. Because this was an 05 Ford GT, it has a billet lower control arm. The newer versions, the 06, had a cast lower control arm. So we have a little bit of variance here of what we're using, but we were able to replace all of the arms. They're both just as good as one another, but finding this one used on the secondhand market is about $10,000. We got wheel bearings, we got uprights, we got upper and lower A-arms, we've got brand new axles here, brand new sway bars, and there's so many new parts from Ford that this is basically gonna be better than a new car when we put it back together. And moving on to the suspension, we partnered up with Fortune Auto and Reed Performance, who make a custom coilover that bolts directly into the Ford GT and is gonna allow us to perform at track days and also street drive this car. I'm really excited about those. It's gonna be an amazing touch for our Doran kitted GT. It's gonna allow us to put this thing in the weeds where it's gonna look the best. Moving on, we have one of my favorite items for this car. You guys know the Ford GTs came with a really unique seat, and those seats were made by a company called Sparco. We work with Sparco a lot here at Throtl. We reached out to them and said, you know what, we're building a Ford GT. We love the factory seat. We know you guys made it for Ford. We want to put something more modern, something a little bit cooler in the car. So they sent us down their SPX. This seat is insane. Look at this thing. It weighs nothing. It's fully adjustable, carbon fiber back, leather strap release. I mean, you can't beat this seat. Alcantara centers. What I love most about them is they've got their branding on the headrest, but it's blacked out and it looks so stealthy. It is gonna look absolutely perfect inside this interior. Aside from the seats, we're also adding a GT350 steering wheel with carbon composite pieces on it, and we've redone the airbag to include the Ford GT logo. It's gonna be a really cool touch. So we went with leather on the airbag cover. And don't worry guys, this will still function as an airbag. It will split there in the center. We did also add Alcantara. And I will say, we are actually getting another one of these wheels with yellow stitching. So it will match the remainder of the yellow parts on the car. So the red stitching will go away. We're gonna replace it with a yellow one, but this one's our placeholder for now. And I'm excited to see that in the car. I think it's gonna look really cool and it's a neat upgrade for the car. To pair with that custom steering wheel, we reached out to our friends over at Speed Hut and had a full gauge package custom made for the interior of our Ford GT. They went ahead and added the throtl logo on the tachometer and also on the speedometer, and we have the full complement of gauges so we can keep an eye on what our engine's doing and how the car is performing. Outside the car, we decided to make a few more aero changes. We went crazy with the body. We had to add a pair of EVS aero mirrors. These things are super cool looking. We use these on the Ferrari, and what I like about changing up the mirrors for something like this is it gives the car a really modern touch. It truly makes this a universal mirror and a really cool universal application for any car. And out back, we could have called up any one of our friends like Bowden Auto House or anyone like that that makes a custom exhaust system for the Ford GT. It's a really simple system that basically just comes up, looks like a set of ram horns, and then out the back. Because the engine's in the back, it's a really short exhaust system. So I reached out to Vibrant and we ordered up a bunch of 3-inch titanium tubing and a bunch of 3-inch pie cuts. So we're gonna go ahead and just whip up our own custom exhaust system for this. So a huge thank you to Vibrant Performance for sending out all of these titanium products to pair with our custom flanges so we can make a great exhaust for this car. We're also gonna be putting low glow on this. I know this doesn't seem like the type of car for a low glow, underglow system. The car is flat bottom, so man, it is gonna really, really add a punch to this car when it's sitting outside at night or driving on the freeway, wherever we take it, to meets, whatever. We can pop those on and really make this thing stand out. And you guys probably see that big black tank back there. That's because this car comes with a factory dry sump oiling system. The problem was our car was in such a bad accident that it actually totaled that tank and completely ruined it to the point where it was fully unusable. Luckily, we were able to source one online. It is very expensive, but bolts right onto our factory chassis in a factory location, and it plumbs to our engine with all the factory componentry. So to us, having a factory dry sump oil tank is super important, and it makes it very easy to put this system back together without making custom flanges and lines. And this is one of the products that I'm most excited about. CSF is one of our partners on a lot of our builds, and we reached out to them because when we got this car, we realized that our coolant stack was completely twisted from the accident that the car was in. So what we did was we boxed it up, we sent it off to CSF, and we are really proud to say that they took on the challenge. Not only did they take on the challenge, they designed a system that's going to be available on the market for Ford GT owners who like to track their cars or simply want a nice upgrade for their aging vehicle. It is going to be a complete coolant stack, and you're also going to be able to buy a transmission cooler from them as well with the really cool quick disconnect dime fittings for CSF. And out back, we got a bunch of oil from Ford to keep this thing lubricated. And we even got an Optima red top battery. These batteries are awesome, and we're excited to have it in our Ford GT. And what really got me excited was this wheel and tire package that showed up. Our friends over at HRE Wheels, which if you don't know, this is where Evan and I met before we started throtl, was working at HRE. We're finally able to get them on board for this program to build a custom set of 3-piece forged wheels that are gonna look epic on this car for one. But what I want to say is a disclaimer. These are not the wheels we're going to be running. These are a wheel set that they basically made for us to test fit on the car. So we're not running this color combo or anything. It's just basically the style. So this is a 305 from HRE Wheels. Will be a 3-piece wheel on the car, front and rear, but we're going to have a really aggressive setup on this car. Most people would go with an 18-inch setup with a really fat motorsport tire, but we're going to set this car up for the street. So we're going to go with a bigger OD wheel and a bigger and wider OD and width tire. We've got some Michelin tires here. Again, these are sample tires. They're basically being used for test fit purposes, but we've got a massive 355 out back, and I believe a 265 up front. This is going to be the ultimate wheel and tire package for this car. It's going to allow us to run the car low, but also provide enough grip and traction to get this thing around the track should we want to go. And last but not least, we have our original motor that was in this car. Now, when this car was crashed in 2007, it only had 4,000 miles on it. So this motor is very fresh and good inside. My boy Quinn went through it already and updated all the belts. We got everything compression checked, and make sure that the vitals for this thing were in good shape before we slam it back in the car. This thing is gonna rip, and with our custom exhaust, it's gonna sound amazing. So now that I've shown you guys all of these parts, I wanna say I'm very excited because we've got some epic partners on board, and it is really going to make this car one of a kind. But we've got one thing left to do, and that's to get all this stuff cleaned up, get that car over into the other shop, and start putting our Fortune Auto suspension and all of our forward control arms on, so that we can make this thing a roller. To start off, we're going to get the suspension back on this car. We're going to start with our Fortune Auto coilovers and all of our brand new Ford factory arms and components and make this thing look like a car again. All right, the upper arm's in, as simple as tightening up 4 bolts. But down here we got a little bit of a problem because we've got our door-in front diffuser on the car, and they leave a lot of flashing, as I mentioned in the second video, on a lot of these parts. As you can see, or hopefully you can see some of the black lines I've drawn on here, our lower control arms for the front are going to bolt in on these provisions here. Unfortunately, the flashing for this diffuser is in the way, so we're going to clearance it. I want to keep as much of this carbon fiber material on the car as we can, so we're just going to trim around where the arm goes in, make sure we can get tools in there to tighten up the bolts, and it should look pretty sick. So we're going to go ahead and start cutting this up. All right, got the cuts made. Now let's get this lower control arm in. A lot of you will notice that we're using a wheel bearing off of the old car. This was tested and checked. It is a good wheel bearing. There's no reason to replace it other than it doesn't look as fancy as the rest of the parts on the front of the car, but these are very expensive, very difficult to get because they are specific to the Ford GT. They aren't actually Ford Mustang parts, which is what I was hoping they would be. Rest assured, a good bearing going on. Up next, our first Fortune Auto coilover is gonna go in. Everything's loose right now. We'll go ahead and tighten it up once it's in the car. All of our parts are installed. We now have a front corner, which is exciting. Now we just got 3 more to do. We're gonna move on to the back so we can get one side done. We'll show you guys what it looks like. So we're gonna go ahead and lay the shock in first on the rear. It bolts in up top, up here. And what it's gonna allow us to do is kind of put the lower arm in next, and then we can put the upper A arm basically in over top of it. This might be a little easier process, and we're learning as we go here. So we're gonna try it a different way and see what works. On the back of the Ford GT, we have a tension arm, or basically a tow arm. And one of the really cool things about these tow arms is that we could not find one, and ours were bent. So we actually reached out to a company called Super Pro, who we work with on a lot of bushings and things. We sent them our bent one. They actually remade these for us with a new bushing on the end, and it threads into our chassis on this side and keeps this upright from moving, and also allows us the toe adjustment that we need for track time. This is a really nice part, and we are very grateful to have Super Pro as a partner who custom made these for us. Now let's get this last piece in the car. Front and rear suspension are done, and this is my first time actually seeing a rear corner on this car, because when we got it, they were both ripped off or disassembled already. So it's neat to see it all in place. I really like this rear tension setup, or the rear toe setup on this car. Everything about the suspension is very simple, very track inspired oriented. A-arms, I mean, it is just dialed. If we do some track days in this, we can really fine tune this thing and make this car really fast. I love the way it looks and the simplicity of it. And I can't wait to see it with the big brakes on it from Wilwood. It's gonna look epic. And the front is the same, very simple, very motorsports oriented, and it looks amazing all bolted together. And now we just have to get the other side done. So let's get over there and get jamming. The last corner is on the car, and that means the suspension is complete. And now we get to move on to one of the more exciting components that we have for this car. Let's head on over to the other side of the car and check it out. As I mentioned, this is the next exciting project. One of my favorite components that's gonna go on this car, our Wilwood brake kit. Let's toss them on the car. First up, we're gonna get our radial to radial mounts on the car. These are gonna help mount our big new calipers on top of what was a radial mount already on the 4GT, which is already really cool. But Wilwood made us these custom adapters that are gonna put this massive caliper onto our 4GT. Slides right on just like that. What's nice about these mounts is they're gonna actually place the caliper in the appropriate location so that we can just literally slam the rotor on here, put the caliper on. Being that this is the first set of its kind in the world that's gonna be available to the GT community, I'm pretty sure this one's gonna be spot on. Look at these brakes. This is insane. They are massive. I can't wait. We have shed so much weight from this car with the carbon body. Adding these massive brakes, this thing is gonna stop on a dime. I cannot wait to drive this car. They look great. We're gonna have to test fit the wheels over them and see how they fit, but you're gonna have to wait for that because we gotta move on to the back and get the back on as well, and then we can start seeing about wheels. All right, the rear brakes are on, and now we have the whole right side completed. This is cool. It looks insane. These brakes are massive. We have one thing to do. We're excited. It's the end of the day here, but we want to test out our wheels. Now, HRE sent us a set of wheels. These aren't the actual wheels we're going to be running. It's just a set of dummy centers that they made up for us. I put some barrels on them. We had tires mounted today, and we're going to see how these fit over the brakes and also the offset, so we can give them some data and feedback of how it is now, because we can make changes. We've got some time ahead of us before SEMA. If we want to dial it in further, we can. So let's see these things on the car. Yeah. I actually really like this wheel.
Brakes clear?
Brakes clear, and holy crap, they fill out every square inch of opening behind the wheel. That is crazy. Look at that. Look at this. It's insane. Man, I'm so excited about this. This is As I've said, probably my favorite package that's going on this car. I mean, I love the door and GT kit, obviously, but these brakes being so special and one-off is really cool, and they look so awesome behind these HRE wheels. So this is a 355. This is a tire off of a Ferrari Enzo. Nuts. This thing is massive. This is the biggest tire we've ever installed here. Insane. Now we can put a jack under the wheel and see how it looks compressed. So let's check it out. All right, well, that's lifting the car up off the lift now. So that looks pretty epic. Holy crap. Look at this, man. So still a bit of a wheel gap, but one of the things I will say is whenever you put a GT body kit on a street car, you're always going to run into an issue where the wheel well arches are cut higher, because race cars are meant to run super low and race tracks are well built, so they're nice and flat. You don't have potholes, you don't have aprons, curbs, those sorts of things to run over. So race cars run technically really low to the ground. And so in order to accommodate the wheel and tire packages, they raise the arches up. A lot of times we find that when you do this to a street car, you can't put enough wheel and tire under the wheelhouse to fill it out. We've been able to do that here, and we still have additional travel built into this setup, so we can actually go lower if we want, which is pretty amazing. This thing's gonna look sick. Now let's check out the front. It's so close. For just us throwing this together, we literally just slapped this together, as you guys saw. For it to be that close is really good. We're in a great spot to really build off of this, fine tune the wheel fitment, which I think looks really good right now. What we don't want to do is make a stance car that we have to gingerly drive around on the streets. We want to make it so that the offset is a little bit inboard. We don't need it to be perfectly flush because we want the tire to tuck under the fender arch. We don't want to tear up these beautiful dry carbon fiber fenders when we drive it. So we're going to go a little bit safe on the offset. We're going to go safe on the wheel tire fitment as a package altogether. And I think what's going to result is something that we can really drive hard and not have to worry about blowing the fenders off this thing when we turn it at the track or on the street. So really nice setup, really safe fitment, but still fills out these extra door and arches really nice. Well, now that we have an idea of what this is going to look like, we can pass along the information that we've collected here onto the boys over at HRE Wheels. Well, they'll now start production of our real wheels that are going to go on this thing. Now let's get back to the other side so we can finish up the brakes. Next up, now that we've got the suspension and wheel and tire stuff sorted out, we can move on to our fuel system. This is the factory Ford GT gas tank, which is really cool because it actually fits up the tunnel of the car. Being a rear mounted engine and transmission setup, the tunnel is used for the fuel system, which is amazing because it holds a ton of fuel and it puts the weight where we want it, in the center of the car and as high as possible, which is really nice. Now, this car was crashed in 2007 at a racetrack and has sat ever since. So when we pulled this tank out, we used a battery and pumped all the fuel out of it. And actually, the fuel pump worked fine to pump the fuel out. But we don't want to put this in and take any chances that the fuel pump is inadequate for what we're going to be using the car for. So we reached out to Beachworks and we got two DW300s that flow 340 liters per hour. We're gonna pop two of these bad boys in here because once we put this in, we don't want to take it back out because it goes above a bunch of stuff, and to get this out is a total pain in the butt in the future. So we're gonna future-proof this thing by throwing two of these Beachworks pumps in, and we should have plenty of fuel for this big 5.4 liter. All right, that's one pump out. That's the carrier that it goes in. This is a really interesting fuel system, man. They must have, as Greg pointed out, molded the actual fuel carrier and pickup and everything inside the tank, because there's no way they could have got this whole thing in the tank after it was made. So they literally put this in the mold, then molded that around it somehow. There's no way they built it inside. That's crazy. All right, well, it's a good thing we did this. First of all, there is some residual fuel left in here that we couldn't pump out, and we're finding out why. This gas is so rancid, it smells terrible in here. I wish you guys could smell it, but at any rate, look down in there. I just fished a bunch of this crap out. This is the old filter system, and look how it's really just falling apart in my hands. So all of the filters from the bottom of these pumps are laying in the bottom of this, what is effectively a surge tank inside the fuel tank. Keep the fuel from sloshing around the pumps. Now I get the job of digging in there, trying to figure out how I can get all that stuff out, because if we put new pumps in with new filters and we start the car and it just sucks up all the old filtration material, we're just gonna have clogged fuel pumps again. So I gotta figure out how to get in here and get all that crap out. All right, our fuel tank is all cleaned up. The surge portion is all cleaned out. All the old residue and debris is out of there. Looks pretty tidy in there now. And we don't have to worry about clogging up our filtration socks or our fuel filter now. I gotta get the new Deechworks pumps in. It's gonna take a little bit of work, but we're gonna get jamming on it. Fuel tank is back together and ready to go back in the car. So there ain't nothing to it but to do it. I'm gonna put it on a tranny jack, hoist it up in there by myself, and get the bracing in that holds it in place. Then we can move on to our fuel filler tube and get this fuel system essentially complete. Now that the fuel system's in and a lot of our piping that runs through the tunnel are in, we're gonna call it a cap on this video. So hope you guys enjoyed it. In the next one, we've got a lot more parts and components going in the car, and maybe even the engine. So you guys are gonna have to stick around and tune into the next video once it goes live. Thank you guys so much for watching. Leave us some comments down in the comment section. Here's a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. This Ford GT is going to be epic. I'll see you guys in the next one.